Polar coordinates are used when you record the position of objects using distances and angles. The polar coordinate system locates points with respect to a grid made of concentric circles intersected by radial lines through the common center point. In the polar coordinate system, r equals the directed distance from point O to point P, and theta equals the directed angle from the polar axis to segment OP. My problem was 6x to the 5th plus 192i equals 0. To start off my problem, I subtracted 192i to the right side and then divided by 6 on both sides, which left me with x to the 5th equals negative 32i. Then I set up a graph and I plotted the point. A common mistake here would be putting negative 32i as the x coordinate, but since it has I attached with it, it is the y coordinate. And then I got r equals 32 and theta equals 270 degrees, since the x coordinate is 0 and the y coordinate is negative, and on the negative half of the y axis. So the polar coordinates are 32 and 270 degrees. And then I set up my problem using De Moivre's theorem, and I had the fifth root of 32 times cosine of 270 degrees plus 360 degrees n plus I sine of 270 degrees plus 360 degrees n. Then I took the fifth root of 32, and then using De Moivre's theorem, I divided the cosine values and I sine values by 5, and I was left with 2 times cosine of 54 degrees plus 72 degrees n plus I sine of 54 degrees plus 72 degrees n. And then I plugged in 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for n, and when I plugged in 0, I got 3 times the cosine of 54 degrees plus I sine of 54 degrees, and my answer was 1.76 plus 2.43i. A common mistake here would be, since looking at the problem here, you would think that you would add 72, but since when you plug in 0 for n, that totally gets rid of the 72, which would leave it with 54. When I plugged in 1, I got 3 times the cosine of 54 plus 72, which left the entire problem of 3 times cosine of 126 degrees plus I sine of 126 degrees. You just add the 54 plus 72 times 1, which is just 72, leaving you with 126 degrees for the I sine and cosine. Then I got negative 1.76 plus 2.43i. Then when I plugged in 2, I got 3 times the cosine of 54 degrees plus 72 degrees times 2 plus the I sine of 54 degrees plus 72 degrees times 2. That left me 3 times cosine of 198 degrees plus I sine of 198 degrees, and my answer was negative 2.85 minus 0.93. Then when I plugged in 3, I saw that 72 degrees times 3 plus 54 degrees equaled 270 degrees, and then I knew that was a unit circle angle, and 0 equals 200, the cosine of 270 degrees equals 0, and then the sine of 270 degrees, the I sine, equals negative I or negative 1i, and then I distributed, and I got 0 minus 3i, which equals negative 3i. And then when I plugged in 4, I got 3 times cosine of 342 degrees plus I sine of 342 degrees. Then I got 2.85 minus 0.93i. And then in conclusion, my answers were negative 3i, plus or minus 1.76 plus 2.43i, and plus or minus 2.85 minus 0.93i. In conclusion, I used the polar coordinates and plugged them into De Moivre's theorem, using De Moivre's theorem, and using the constant of 2 pi n, which is 360 degrees n, to find my expression, and then I plugged in 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 into n to find my answers. Thank you for watching.